by thanking everyone who is jumping in the chat to introduce themselves, indicating whether they were at the conference, and then also whether you have been attending these AFT meetings in the past. We see some newer names and want to make sure that we know everyone who is here and welcome to those who might be newer. I know that we constantly invite people to join us, so it's wonderful to see returning and new members. And I will hand it over to you, Russ, if you have any kind of opening comments, and happy to also share some myself. But I think that, Russ, you already encouraged people to indicate their interest in speaking by either using the chat or using the React button of raising hands.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to figure out logistics here. Since we do have a good tool, I often use if we had a smaller number, but maybe we can do that. I see what Karen just did. For me anyway, Borsika, it might be the easiest rather than constantly watching chat. If people could just raise your virtual hand, it's at the bottom under React if you were there. And I think what I'd like to do, Borsika, feel free to have a better idea, is we could just call on our screen kind of people in the order. And so if you just keep your hand up until we get a chance to call on you. But I think what we'd like to do is do a round robin. And if those of you that were there would just like to maybe start by sharing one thing or at most two, if you're just bursting with two exciting things that you heard, and then we'll go around if we have time. There are more, but we would like to hear from everyone. And then for those of you that weren't there, Kara did put in at the top the link so you can see the topics and in some cases the abstract even for what went there. So I'd also say a second agenda for us and part of the purpose, besides just sharing, is for us to think about with this group, what are our interests going forward and what might we want to like invite somebody to do? What topic might we want to have? What might we want to have a journal club on? That sort of thing. So it's both the sharing and then thinking ahead, like where's the field going and what can we do to facilitate interaction around that? So, Borsika, over to you.
Thank you so much. I love that structure, Russ. I am also looking at the chat. This is so helpful. I think there are only a couple of people so far who indicated that they were at the conference. And then we have Kara, yourself, and myself. So why don't we start with the folks who were there? And then I really love the transition over thinking about what this group could accomplish and structure and content and things that you are excited about. So Russ, did you want to start with your remarks or do you want us to invite someone from the group?
Actually, I'd rather do the group if you can,
Yes,
and then
yes.
we might take the editorial license to elaborate a little bit on comments people have. But I'd prefer to hear from others what they heard.
That sounds great. So, not to put anyone on the spot, but if you said you were at the conference, we hope that you will unmute and share with us any thoughts you have. Sonia? I'm sorry, Sunny.
Hi, good morning. It's actually Sony, like the
So,
TV. Great to be here. I am a returning participant. I attended like two of these last year and I found them very helpful. I'm actually a pharmacist by training, but pretty new to the D&I space. Did some coursework at Penn. I'm at the University of Pennsylvania, and my focus is in pharmacogenomics implementation, trying to get more clinics to adopt pharmacogenetic testing. So focused on some implementation projects in reducing severe adverse drug reactions, and trying to learn more methods and strategies to how to expand that in our was the session on stories of impact, where there were 5-minute TED Talks from various investigators sharing their story of how they implemented in certain areas. But I found them so powerful because, I come from a quantitative background, but to have that story paired with what we're doing, I think it was very exciting and left a mark on me. And I'm hoping to incorporate some of that stories in my future presentations as I present to our key stakeholders at our health system to get them excited about the work that we're doing. So thank you.
Very
I'll
nice.
just add one more thing. You mentioned topics, because I work in the precision medicine, genomic medicine space. I would love to see more speakers in that area. I was able to connect with Caitlin Allen at the conference in person. So I think the work that they're doing with the genomic medicine implementation is really cool.
Fantastic. Certainly critical new area looking forward. And I just made a note. I'm not sure how many of you know, but we might want to think about, I agree with you myself. Both colleague Borsika and mine, Alana Kolchap Ram, I don't know if you happen to know her or whatever, but went to NCI from Geisinger and does work in this space. And that's one of the things that the NCI is, excuse me, it's not. She went to the Genome Institute, my bad, partnering with NCI there, but she's a new NIH officer, and I think might be able to share some thoughts as well as work she's done herself in the past there. But Borsika, I wonder if you want to add anything, and then also about this other group. I'm not sure if you were able to attend the meeting of to trying to integrate implementation science and not just pharmacogenetics, but I think some pharma issues in general.
Yes, I was multitasking, putting in Alana's
Yeah.
information for those of you who are interested in this area, since she, I think, has kind of a lead role in this space to combine implementation science with genetics in general, but pharmacogenetics being one of those. So I
Yeah.
think that, I mean, she would be a natural person to invite to talk about current priorities. I also wanted to link to Sony's comment about the
Mhm.
impact presentations and just the general sense I had as I was in presence at the conference that qualitative ethnographic methods are elevated more and more. I have seen a lot of presentations that talked about best ways of using qualitative methods and mixed methods, but then also just using storytelling as a way of, whether it's storytelling about impact or storytelling about individuals' experiences and using that as a basis for our research. I not at the conference, but I just recently came across someone talking about their work in photo voice and how they use that in their research. So I think that thinking about, even in this context of adaptation, tailoring, and fidelity, of how we use these novel methods of capturing people's stories and perspective, and then using that to shape what we do is fantastic. So that would be my addition here. So there was a group meeting. Let me think. There is a group, Academy Health, and if someone is here and knows this better, because I'm going to butcher the storyline, but they are starting to work on a mentorship program where mentors and mentees are invited to apply. They are looking at specific, actually rare disease areas right now, and I will try to find a link and send it here. It is open for applications and it is intended to increase implementation science capacity. So you can apply as a mentor if you have implementation science expertise, especially if you have some expertise in those very specific topic areas. And mentees are invited. And this is an industry, Amgen is actually sponsoring it. Collaboration with Academy Health, and they are going to expand it hopefully to other topics. But I just wanted to mention that that is out there and currently accepting applications. And I learned about it at a small closed meeting that was held. There was another meeting that unfortunately overlapped with a post conference meeting for me. Someone might have attended it. If you did, please let me know. This was organized by Brian Mittman, and this was his work in bringing together industry with academia to explore how implementation science could advance the priorities of industry by using implementation science academic capacity. And that happened after the meeting concluded on Wednesday. But again, unfortunately, I had to attend a different meeting. So not sure if anyone else learned about it. If not, I'm sure Brian will continue building this. And again, Brian Mittman is a well-known name in implementation science. Many of you might have interacted with him, and he certainly has been making sure that this idea of industry can partner with academia has been a priority for him. So that's all I want to add here. I don't know if anyone else who was at the conference would be willing to jump in with other reflections. Again, I'm not going to name names, but I know there is at least one more person here.
So I can just make a quick comment. So that this was my second time, and compared to last year, there were definitely more projects at intersection of clinical decision support and implementation science. And I really enjoyed the posters a lot. So that this is a poster. I'm sorry, this is a conference that, like, for me, they utilize the posters the best, like the best posters in among the other conferences I attend. But overall, it was nice to see more informatics but mainly clinical decision support related work.
Super. Thank you. Thank you. Anything, Mustafa, directly from that you'd recommend that we think about, that this group think about drilling down on more, or anybody to invite, or?
Well, I'll think about it, but the one in terms of methodology, seems like there is a lot of opportunity to use EHR usage data and have, like, that there were some, I have seen at least a few posters how they study adaptation using the log data, which is huge amount of data and involves a lot of statistics. So that I'll think about someone in that space. I think that would be a good addition.
Great. Yep. Good point. I concur. Super. I'm not seeing anybody raising their hand. Trying to scroll back. Borsika is probably better than I am at monitoring chat, but I do know there were at least a couple other people. But if you were there, or go ahead, it'd be great if you could. There we go. A couple people are starting to raise their hands, so we can see you and call you out. So it looks like Kirsten raised her hand. So what did you hear in the meeting that you thought was notable?
Yeah, I thought, so I'm Kirsten, I'm from Boston University. I think I agree that my favorite session was actually the poster session. I think, relevant to this group, I was presenting a poster on using the core functions in form to adapt a sort of evidence-based care transition program. And I had multiple people who came up to me and said they had searched in the index for the conference, core functions in form, and were going to every poster and presentation that included it. So I think the conversations that came out of that were probably the most interesting to me. I will say the one thing I was disappointed about is my favorite part of the conference is always the debate, and they cut the debate this year. I like the debate.
Yep. Good point. If you haven't completed your feedback, they generally more so than usual. Everybody says they want your feedback and they take it, but I do know they personally do take the feedback pretty seriously. So I don't know if it's closed, but you should have gotten a prompt. So would do that. Borsika or Kara can correct me, but I think next month, Monica Perez Yales, who's one of the current leaders, is going to be our guest leader at this meeting or whatever. So that should fit nicely. And she's been doing a lot of work, some of it in conjunction with, actually, she's invited Borsika and myself be involved in doing that. There's a neat new paper underway, and some of the things I'm sure she'll share with you. So we're excited about that. And I don't know, Borsika, or maybe why don't we see first if there's anybody else who should have been doing this besides Borsika and myself that went to the sessions, that whatever it brings, anybody else went to function and form sessions, and do you have any comments? Then we'll see if Borsika has anything to add. Oh.
I was just excited just while others are thinking, and I know because I back channeled Victoria, who is actually a doctoral student here at in San Diego, and will share a little bit about her experience attending this conference as a doctoral student. But I don't think it was related to functions and forms specifically, although she uses it. But I would like to say that. So, over the years, we noted that adaptations, fidelity, well, specifically adaptations, I guess, became a more and more central theme. And then, as you all know, we created these little summaries of relevant abstracts. And this year we had this whole booklet of adaptation relevant abstracts. So I didn't have a chance to see all of those. And we are actually systematically going to go through and invite speakers for the coming year, unless you are taking up spots. So please indicate your interest to see what is going on. And one of the things I have seen becoming more and more prominent is people excited about functions and forms, applying them in different ways. And Kirsten, it would be wonderful to see your work as well. So if you are interested in presenting for this group, please indicate that. But I think these applications, because Monica has done an incredible job of providing us with a very good example of the patient-centered medical home. And everyone goes back to that because it's such a good example. But then I saw newer papers where people are taking this idea and taking it to the next level and applying it in different contexts. So it's very exciting to me to see that, because I truly think that's our answer to the question of that tension between fidelity and adaptations. And it is such a good solution from my perspective, but it also brings up questions about study designs and what do we assess. So it's wonderful to hear. And Kirsten, congrats on presenting on that as well. So that's all I had. Russ, is it okay if I invite, well, actually I will check. Sony, was it related to functions and forms that you wanted to say?
Yes, I did have a comment on
Why don't
functions
you
and
do-
forms.
Yeah.
I also presented a poster on forms and functions related to pharmacogenomics. What I struggled with in putting this together was like the phases of implementation. So how do we, if you will, cross-tab functions and forms during the different phases? Because what are the functions in one phase, let's say planning, is different than the functions that are important for sustainment. So I'm planning to attend the session with Dr. Perez next month, but I'm interested to see what others are doing as far as like how do they develop the functions according to phase of implementation.
A great comment. Thank you so much, Sony. And I'm sure that that's going to be an excellent question for Monica, who has thought about it deep and long. And I would love to hear other discussions as well. Let me invite Victoria, if it's okay. So Victoria, I will just give a little bit of a background, and you can, of course, introduce yourself. But I have been privileged to work with Victoria through her work as a doctoral student, through our joint doctoral program. And she has done a beautiful job incorporating adaptation documentation into her work. And she was at the conference. Was it your first time, Victoria?
No, I went 2 years ago.
Okay, so but it's always interesting to hear how it is for someone who is coming into the field, establishing themselves to be at a conference like this that has grown, I am sure, even from 2 years ago in your vision.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So yeah, as she mentioned, my name is Victoria. I'm a doctoral student in public health at UCSD, and I have been involved heavily in a project with a mentor of mine that is implementing a physical activity program in faith-based organizations in San Diego. And I have been leading sort of the adaptations that have occurred from either the original EBI or any adaptations that ever occurred to the planned implementation strategy. So I've been working closely with Borsika on tracking those adaptations, documenting them, and we're working on the manuscript now and kind of trying to see how we can do some impact assessments. But yeah, the conference was great. In addition to what Kirsten was saying, I think my favorite is always the poster sessions and kind of seeing all the work that's being done, especially related to adaptations. I think there was a lot more adaptation related posters that I saw this year than, when I went 2 years ago. But I think the other session that I really enjoyed was on like navigating the challenges of implementation measurement with Maria Fernandez and Greg Arians. while on this project, I've also been really involved in developing measures for implementation, organizational level measures at the church level, and it was incredibly difficult to like put those measures together because a lot of the implementation related measures are really focused at the clinic level, not really at this faith-based organization level. So it has been very interesting to kind of adapt and modify existing measures to use at the faith-based organization level. So I really appreciated that whole talk on kind of seeing where we are now and talking about standardized and validated tools and how we can adapt them for like context specific cases. So I really did enjoy that, and overall the conference was great.
Thanks so much, Victoria. This is great. I am very touched by hearing of the poster sessions being a favorite for multiple people. And I have to be honest that usually, and I have to agree that I really enjoyed seeing people there, and I perhaps saw most of the people there. Perhaps also for the structure of the conference that was a little bit unusual in terms of where you could see people. That was a place where you could see. But I also am thinking that in other conferences, often I dread it because it feels just overwhelming and a lot of things. But it sounds like it was overwhelming. There was a lot happening, but it was very helpful to see. And I think because we don't get as many podium presentations accepted because there's just so few spots, this is the place where you can meet with people with newer ideas and people who are, I have seen a lot of very senior implementation scientists presenting posters, standing next to their posters. So it's not like it's all the early career folks there and then the podium is all the senior. It was really a nice mix. So love to hear that everyone enjoyed that. Kara, would you like to go next?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was also tabling for our DNI web tool, so I didn't get to go to as many sessions as I wanted to, but the poster session was actually, I felt the same way as majority of you guys. I really enjoyed it. I was able to kind of sneak away from the table and peruse the posters a lot easier than if I had to go to a session. And as I'm in kind of my doctoral program, I've been really interested in learning more about policy and adaptations related to policy to improve implementation efforts. And so there was a poster there was a talk I was not able to go to, but it was on my list, but it was around creating jurisdictional profiles to help policymakers plan for implementation and kind of use them to adapt and tailor the policy development based off of those profiles. I'll put it in the chat. I was just thinking that might be a topic that we haven't really, I think maybe we could explore a little bit as well. Is like the role of policy and adaptations in relation to policy development. I think we could possibly connect it to the storytelling aspect as well. So I don't know, that was something that I found interesting. I wasn't really able to go to that one, but yeah, that might be something if others are interested.
Fantastic. Yep. I agree with Ramona, and it's a super idea. By the way, if there's something that resonates with you, please do like Ramona just did to let us know if something you agree with there. So super. Anybody else that was there? We'll give those of you that weren't there a chance here in a little bit, but anybody else was there? If not, I'm gonna turn it let Borsika share what other additional things she saw.
I think I am going to share one more thing and then perhaps hand it over to you, Russ. If others are not jumping in, please do jump in. And then perhaps we can transition over to thinking about what this group could do in the coming year. One of the things that was really interesting to me, and I don't know if it's because that's what I am focused on or because it was truly very prominent at the conference, As you all know, I am very interested in implementation science theories, models, and frameworks. How do we help people select them, use them well, etc.? And one of the things that was a little bit new to me at this conference, that there was a lot of discussion. Actually, I had sidebar discussions with people on how to integrate across these theories, models, and frameworks. So instead of distinguishing them and making them as, like this is one, this is the other, we are competing against each other, we had a very good discussion, for example, with the group from CIFR on how to think about CIFR and PRISM and how those could be working together, or how do we help people decide which of these two they would use in a certain situation, or if someone uses the one and the others are the other, how do we crosswalk? So this need for understanding of we are working on this together, that the differences are much smaller than the similarities, and then there is opportunity to work across TMFs became very prominent to me, and also just the general interest from the developers of these TMFs on working together to figure this out. So that's exciting to me. I think that that is going to be a direction I am going in this year, and we already have some plans in place, but just wanted to bring this out, that as we are all struggling with choosing the right TMF, it's important, and there is a lot of similarities, and hopefully there will be more guidance on how to think about that as we move forward. So that's kind of the last one, Russ, I have on mind.
Okay. I have one, but I just wanted to make a transition comment on that. And this is going back to where Sony started, I think. And the notion of talking with other people who are not implementation scientists about theoretical or conceptual models that we have, I think, in my experience, is one of the single most confusing or overwhelming or off-putting things to people that are new to the field, or other, particularly clinicians, and just it seems like a Tower of Babel or chaos to people. But I think, as what you said, Borsika, the notion that maybe talking first about the commonalities across, what do we all focus on? The importance of context and increasingly adaptations, and several other issues there that we do. There really is agreement, like almost 95% agreement across the models. And I think maybe we, like most academic disciplines, focus too much on the differences, and my model does this and yours doesn't, and that sort of thing. But I think focusing on the key common issues, and then talking about what there are some differences, and these might be, as you said, and as the website that you've led the development on over the years focuses on, is maybe helping you make some of those differentiations where you need to. I was just going to comment on, well, first of all, I'll make a process comment that part of the reason that they moved the venue this year to the National Harbor, the Gaylord, was because of the past years, the meeting rooms were just way too full or exceeded capacity. And when you tried to go to a session other than the largest plenary you couldn't get in, well, that failed miserably. And I will say that a couple of the sessions I most wanted to go to, I went late because I was doing the other things and wasn't able to get in. And one of them, I stood literally out in the hallway, like 3 deep or whatever, and I gave up because I couldn't hear anything. So that's one of the feedback issues I'm going to give anyway. And it's great to see the interest, but again, purposely, especially moving it over that far away, I thought was interesting, since that was a rationale I'd heard anyway. So enough whining. The session I wanted to talk about the most was on measurement. And it was a panel, and Michael Pullman, who I believe is at Picori, I forget where he might have been, from UW to start with. A person that I apologize, I didn't know, from Texas A&M, I believe, and then Greg Ahrens were on the panel on measurement. And a few things I took away from that, I enjoyed it, was they talked about this tension between pragmatism, and particularly in real world issues or settings when you need to, and psychometrics. As many of you know in the field, I think maybe the best integration of that is by work done by Kara Lewis, Brian Weiner, and others that apologize, I'm not remembering on what they call the papers criteria, which talks about, both of those, how to do it. I thought other things that I heard were about levels, thinking of measurements that might go across different levels, and then focus more on observational measures, which is certainly something that I think we have a greater need for. And there might be some other, with new technologies and things, greater opportunity for those type of assessments of adaptations as well as other things. And just a shameless plug, and a lot of what Kara was doing at the table she talked about was focusing on the new section for the Theories, Models, Framework website that we have there. And we've tried to emphasize not just on assessments that are linked to different frameworks as well as general constructs in the field, but to focus on a variety of modalities, not just like survey measures or whatever. And to me, that's a important issue for the field that did come up. And I'll say two last things is Greg Ahrens made what I thought was a really interesting point about kind of specifying how do we see when there is a construct that we have. And often a construct, here's the example, I think, of implementation climate. That can be, depending on how you're focused, legitimately can be thought of as a key, quote, determinant or contextual influence on impact. It can be viewed as a mechanism, okay, that the implementation climate to facilitate and increase or decrease outcomes, or it could be viewed as an outcome itself. And I just thought that was an interesting observation to think about that it's not just one thing. And then the very last thing is, I was intrigued. There was a brief discussion of really brief measures and pragmatic, and two things there. One of them was the use, again with the EHR, I think, going back to Mustafa's comment, for the use of computer adaptive testing, where you can take a scale that actually is fairly long, but then through looking at initial responses, you can get something, I'm going to make this up, and it varies depending on response, but something like a 20-item scale can introduce by the use of computer adaptive testing to be like 3 items long or something. And so I'm really excited, but still be able to map back to the original validated scale. I'm just real excited about that. And then there was a notion I haven't had a chance to look up, but apparently there is a literature out there, and I'd be interested if anybody knows this, on single item measures, which carrying the kind of pragmatic thing to an extreme. And I'd never heard of that and haven't had a chance to look into actually single item measures. So that was my takeaway and favorite session. Let's see once again if there's anybody that else hasn't had a chance to do this, or if anybody wants to follow up on issues that have been talked about, and then we'll switch to our other more general topic, as Borsika said, and maybe she can start facilitating that discussion. No. David Goodrich, sounds like you weren't there. I couldn't see. But I did notice that there was a huge number of VA presentations, including some of the ones on impact this year. And it was interesting to me how much, the work was being shared there, largely, but not solely, at least what I saw, query work. And there is a new round of query projects as well that are coming out that we might want to have them talk about. But yeah, David.
I hope that was a good representation, that we didn't overrepresent. I can't speak for everyone. I only had a couple posters, but yeah, it was a delight to see many of my colleagues presenting, since the conference didn't have as many co-sponsors this year officially.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yep. Thank you.
VA is trying to keep their heads down and just do good research and not attract attention.
Almost everybody is. They don't know if there were travel. I do know, unfortunately, from my perspective, I think some of the NIH officers even weren't able to go because they couldn't get approvals or whatever this year. So, okay, we're going to switch here. Borsika is going to facilitate taking us home and the rest of the discussion here.
Thank you, Russ. So what we were thinking we could do now, we have about 15 minutes, is to invite those of you, everyone, and including those of you who did not attend the DNI conference, to talk about the next year for this group. I know that many of you have been attending pretty regularly, others are newly joining. We already got some advice from Sony, what kind of topics we could cover in this group that would be exciting for you. So if you could just feel free to unmute, either raise your hand or just unmute. I think we are small enough group to share what would be helpful for you to hear in this group. What excites you? What kind of presentations do you recommend? Are there other activities that you would like us to do with this group beyond what we have been doing, which is usually kind of work in progress versus kind of already published papers and talking about those? So very open-ended, any kind of contribution help would be great. I will say that so we completed 10 years with this group as of December of 2025. So we are starting the 11th year. This group has gone, strong in the sense that we always have, established members, newer members. It's very exciting. But we always wonder with Russ and Kara what you would like us to do that would be helpful. So please jump in and I will be quiet and let you lead the way. And I will add one more kind of prompt. What would make you want to keep coming to this group? Perhaps that's a better way of framing this.
Borsika, I'll say something since I've been a long time attendee. This group is always valuable. So whatever you and Russ do is always helpful. But I think one of the topics I'm interested in right now in implementation science is de-implementation and de-intensification, because there's a lot of low value care practices being promoted, not necessarily by excuse me, reason, excuse me, by a little bit of a cold. Things are being promoted, but they need to be taken off the table.
Yep.
A little bit clamped this morning.
I hope that you are okay. I have these bouts myself, but I really appreciate you bringing this forward. So if you have specific speaker recommendations, David, please do send those to us, or papers that we could bring forward. Also, if you have done work in this area recently and you would like to present, we would love to incorporate your perspective on this. But I love the idea. Thank you so much. That's great. And thank you for being such a long-term member of this group. Also joined at age 12 with Russ when he was 39.
We could maybe have some patches or whatever for people for long-term.
Scouting things. Yeah.
Right.
Did a presentation. Yeah. Attended more than 5 sessions. Love it. Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much, David. Others, those of you who are new to it, don't feel shy about sharing why you came and what you are hoping to see here.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Edith.
My name is Edith. I am so new to this group. This is my second time to attend. I was introduced by my mentor, Steve Battles. I just relocated to Southern California, and he thought instead of me being orphaned on this end with no close group, he recommended this group that I joined. So this is the second time I am joining. I have been attending his meetings with Rachel, and one of the things that are done in that group is if somebody has, let's say, is planning to write a grant application, they share their idea, they bring their ideas to the group, share their ideas for input. I don't know whether that's something that this group could do. I mean,
Yeah.
I I think benefit from that. And secondly, I just like I said, Steve Battle's mentee. I am still new in implementation science. I would also appreciate teaming up with people in Southern California who are doing implementation science. My work is largely community-based dementia care and integration of mental health services or behavioral health into primary health care. So just trying to situate myself this side, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will say that when the group started, we definitely had more of a mix of people presenting on more, kind of established work versus presenting new ideas.
Alma is asking if Hassan can follow the speaker.
Sorry, perhaps Sarah, you can help us mute. Yeah, thank you so much. So I love the idea of if people have interest in bringing emerging ideas to this group to dedicate a session to work in progress ideas. We have not done that in a little while because there was no outreach, but please let us know because we would love to think through what would be the best format, whether we have a half of the session for a work in progress idea and half of it would be another topic, a more kind of mature topic, or do we do a couple of work in progress? We used to do that actually, we mixed it, but then it just turned into more people presenting on existing papers. So we will think it through, but if you have emerging proposals that you would love to present to this group, please message us through that link that Kara provided, because we want to know what is the volume, because we can shape it accordingly.
Yeah. And I think in general, I think just different formats are things that would be fun, particularly ones that are interactive or engaging would be great. I like a lot your suggestion of maybe working on a proposal or something. Edith, we've done that. I think most of the group here has probably done some version of that with feedback, usually smaller groups. But I think it would be intriguing if people want to share. And for example, what we usually do would be like have to start with like just a list of your specific aims that you're thinking about doing. And then if you have a couple questions for the group or whatever to kind of focus it or whatever. But I think that would be fun and a nice example of something different that we haven't done for a while. So thanks for contributing that.
I also see in the chat some self-nominations and nominations from different people. Mustafa, thank you for that. And then David, your comment, looking at Amanda. Any one of you would like to jump in and say a little bit more about those ideas? I haven't read Amanda's fully yet. Amanda, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, sure. My work mostly focuses on research in schools. And so a lot of the conversations that we've had is how complex and needing to change all the time that research within schools can be. And so I think it would be great to have kind of sessions and talks about how to manage the like adaptation on the fly and how this can kind of work for when thinking about implementing interventions in settings that will have to look different in every single place that they're being implemented. And I kind of come in and out of this group, so apologies if this has already been talked about. But yeah.
Super idea. I think one direct thing, if you can make it next month or whatever, again with Monica Pediciales talking about functions and forms, that's at least one way, I think, of addressing this thing about the need to highly individualize or whatever is going on to different settings, or tailing is to use that. So there's still some continuity or overall generalizable issues that you're looking at there. It isn't everything is totally starting from scratch or totally different, but provide that, but still that balance between the tailoring, I think will be good to ask her and interact with her around those issues. I don't mean to say that's the only, approach to doing that, but it's certainly one.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I will definitely make sure to make it next month.
Yeah.
Great. And then I'm wondering, Russ, as I'm hearing this, that this idea of needing to change things on the fly and
Mhm.
how that kind of aligns or kind of talks about the notion of study designs, and they are not rigid. And the thing that you mentioned about needing for being pragmatic, I think that that's definitely a key concept. Did we do a Royo presentation for this group? I am trying to remember, Kara, if you could look up, for example,
Yeah.
that as a design. And, if I know that, JD could do it or someone else who has
Yeah.
applied the Royo, because that is basically designed for you to, over time, improve your program, improve your implementation strategies. And I can't remember if we have done one of those. So
I don't recall it. For those of you that don't know the lingo, that's a acronym or whatever for rollout. I think that one's implementation outcomes, but basically it's an adaptation of the stepped wedge design many people have done, but where you do change, the implementation strategy, and or it can be adaptations over time and still be able to look at, evaluate that without, people getting upset about you making the cardinal error of changing, either the implementation or the intervention, but how you can be much more responsive and do that. It's not a straightforward design, particularly the analyses, but I think it is one of the, key approaches to try and address that really complex, challenging issue.
And then I also noted, Frankie, your comment here in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about it, but let me see if Frankie would like to. Might not be in a good position, but regardless, I would just say that it sounds like thinking through specific projects where you are working and thinking about how you could incorporate the ideas of adaptation, fidelity, and tailoring. That aligns with what Edith recommended around WIPs, perhaps. So we will include these. If you all would be willing to also use the link that Kara provided for these ideas and drop them in there, but we will also try to pull them from the chat. We would appreciate it. And yeah, use this form. Then we have it in one place. We are getting to the top of the hour. Let me see if there is anything else that we wanted to share. Anyone would like to add a last idea? Or Russ, you have a last few words?
Only last words I have is what I just typed in. I see if with my usual typos or not, but how useful this has been to us. And thank you all. We really look forward to a year of engaging with you. And again, still, we need and very much value your ideas, particularly about innovative things that we can do. And we've gotten a ton here. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for continuing to join us. And we look forward to seeing you in February for Monica Pereziales' presentation. And we will continue filling up our calendar. Be one of those presenters. Nominate yourself, nominate others, and look forward to talking with you this year. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.